Founded in 1937 as one of the nation's first 100 electric cooperatives, Connexus Energy is your community energy partner. Over the past year, we've been sharing updates regarding our wholesale power agreements, as well as our continued commitment to provide you with reliable, affordable, and increasingly sustainable electricity. I'm here today with two leaders from the cooperative, CEO Greg Ritterbush and Board Chair Fran Botter. Greg, I understand there's some news and updates to share regarding our future power supply.
We have some exciting news. After a year of negotiations, we are exiting Great River Energy membership on January 1, and Great River Energy has been our wholesale power provider for many years. We're becoming a customer of Great River Energy. We're capping our purchasing from them at year-end levels for the resources that they have done for us. But we're moving on. And we're winning the flexibility to power our future, including greening the grid from January 1 forward. Exciting.
That is a lot to unpack, though. And I wonder if you could remind everyone what precipitated these changes.
We've been consistent on a couple of messages, and we've been sharing them at annual meetings and various other kind of events. First, our power supply has been the most expensive of all cooperatives in Minnesota for over the last decade. And with that expense, we've tried to do things with it, like our solar resources and things like that, but we've been restricted on our ability to do that. So last annual meeting, we showed a chart that actually verified where we stand relative to the rest of the co-ops. And also we showed how we are saving money doing renewables. And we are actually, when we do renewables on our system's grid, they're 35% less than buying at wholesale from Great River Energy at our average cost. So it's been those two things. It's been the high cost of power plus the fact that we have lower cost options that put us on the path to gain this flexibility for future power supply.
Thank you. And Fran, you chair the board of our nonprofit, member-owned cooperative. And as such, you represent, and the board represents, member interests. From that point of view, what was the board trying to accomplish with this new set of agreements?
Well, the board knew that our members are most concerned about reliability and affordability. So this change that we've made enables a promising supply for the future, and we will be able to meet the expectations of our members. There's also an increased ability of innovation on the programs that we will be able to deliver to our membership. Another significant outcome of these new agreements is a greater amount of flexibility.
Flexibility. Greg, could you help this concept be a little bit more understood, a little more tangible with some examples?
I can, and let me just get to a little bit more detail. First on, with respect to solar and things like that, our old contracts had limited Connexus to only 5% self-supply when we knew we could do better if we had more flexibility. So these contracts for our power supply future eliminates that restriction. For instance, we might want to contract for wind resources that are actually even outside of our territory. That's something that we cannot do today, but it's very likely if we can find the right partner that we can save money doing that and sourcing it ourselves. Of course, the easiest example is doing more solar energy on our system. There's another example. Storage technology, battery storage technology done in large size on the grid. Connexus is the farthest along. We've had support from our board to put in place a battery that allows us to manage our load and save money in doing so without getting into too many details on that. And our keynote project is here in Ramsey near Armstrong Boulevard, and it's contributed to our affordability these last 5 years. There's reasons why our rates have been flat for 5 years, and this is an example of one of them. Now we're no longer blocked. And in fact, we are in the detailed planning now of the next battery technology on our system, which will be integrated in a distribution substation at the edge of our grid, and it'll be topping capacity. It'll be that last couple percent needed on a very hot summer day. that'll be a brand new trial of battery technology in Minnesota. So those are two examples.
Those are fantastic. And Fran, I'm guessing that you also have some ideas about flexibility and how it can be used.
Yes, Rob, I sure do. One idea is conservation and electrification programs. This is called ECO under the new state statute. And so what will happen is we will be leaving a one-size-fits-all program through GRE, and we'll be entering into a self-managed program of conservation rebates. We're already doing some unique things in this area, which would be, one of them would be our peak time rebate. And our members like that. No one else is doing it currently. We'll also be able to invest in conservation more efficiently, and then we will take those new approaches, we'll share them with others if they have an interest, and then of course we will also share them with the relevant state agencies that we need to share them with. A second idea that we have is partnering. We now have the ability to broadly partner with like-minded cooperatives, municipals, and even investor-owned utilities. This is an avenue that we've never been able to approach before, so we're pretty excited about that.
Something that's being said about this new set of agreements between GRE and Connexus Energy is how amiable it has been done, avoiding the kinds of conflicts that have happened in other places. Can you say something about that?
Well, yes, Rob. We have seen many examples, not in the state of Minnesota, but in other states, and they have had a very difficult time in reaching agreements to change the model that they're currently in. And they're spending a significant amount of resources to try and make a change. So it's safe to say that we too had some difficult times, but we were able to be successful and reach a benefit that would benefit everyone. And by everyone, I mean Great River Energy, the other member cooperatives that own Great River Energy, and also Connexus Energy. It was really satisfying to see the overwhelming support that was given when the vote took place amongst the different members' boards. There was very few who voted no, and there was an overwhelming vote in favor of these agreements between Connexus and GRE.
And we did have some moments. There were some hard negotiations, as you would expect, but one thing I want to add is we found the path to collaborate together, and I want to recognize Great River Energy's openness for helping make this happen. I think others may look at our mutual outcome for possible ideas, and both Great River and Connexus can be a resource perhaps to others in the industry.
Greg, earlier this year, there was some media reports about unfounded fears regarding widespread outages, and there's some concern about and speculation about energy costs going into winter. There, between these two topics of reliability and affordability, can you comment on Connexus Energy's position, as well as whether there's any impact by this future power supply set of agreements?
Well, there's a lot there in those questions. One thing that we have hindsight on today, here in the fall of 2022, is that some of those most dire warnings have not proven out. MISO manages the grid extremely effectively in the upper Midwest and throughout its service area. And we've had the good fortune that Minnesota and the Twin Cities and our members have not had an outage. Of course, our reliability is always really strong, and under these agreements, the service from Great River of transmission remains, and that's why we're so reliable at the substation level and out to our members. And the flexibility that we have only can contribute to our affordability. So this might sound kind of strange, but our members may not even notice. We've worked hard for a year to be in a place to continue our affordability, and if we're successful, our members will just continue to enjoy affordable and reliable power.
And so, as we think about the calendar, when do these sets of agreements come into force and come into effect?
So we're working now. The actual in-force date is January 1, But it just doesn't happen overnight. Now that the organizations have agreed to how it's going to work, we're transitioning. We're doing budgeting, we're doing planning, we're figuring out how all the nuts and bolts work, so that on January 1, it'll be just the next day in the life of power companies, and there won't be any effect to affordability or reliability from these transactions.
So Rob and Greg, let me close this conversation with a simple observation. Everything that we have done and the accomplishments that are to come are simply for the well-being of our members. That is the board's accountability. And I can say with a big smile, I am excited for the future of our membership.